The blizzard hit Montana like a frozen fist. Snow hammered the windshield of the patrol car so hard, Officer Marcus Cole could barely see 10 feet ahead. He did not know that in 20 minutes he would buy a $10 dog that would change everything. That would lead him to a truth his brother died protecting. That would force him to choose between his daughter's safety and exposing the corruption that murdered an entire K-9 unit. The Wipers fought a losing battle. Ice crusted the edges of the glass. The heater rattled but barely pushed warm air through the vents. Marcus gripped the wheel tighter. His knuckles were white. He had been driving these mountain roads for 12 years, but tonight felt different. The storm had come early, too early. Most folks had already taken shelter. The roads were empty except for his cruiser crawling through the white darkness. He was supposed to be home an hour ago. Emma would be waiting. His 8-year-old daughter always waited by the window when storms came. She would press her small hand against the cold glass and watch for his headlights. Ever since her mother passed 2 years back, Emma had developed that habit. Watching, waiting, making sure Daddy came home. Marcus checked his watch. 4:30. School had let out early because of the weather. Mrs. Henderson next door had picked up Emma. The elderly widow always helped when Marcus worked late. She was one of the good ones. The kind of neighbor who brought casseroles without being asked and never complained when Emma's laughter got too loud through the thin walls. He reached for his radio to call in his location but stopped. Through the swirling snow, he saw a shape, a building. The old gas station at mile marker 47, the one everybody said should have been torn down years ago, but it was still standing, barely. The neon sign flickered weakly. Open, maybe. Marcus pulled in. The gas tank was half full, but he had learned long ago to never pass a station during a storm. Not in Montana, not in winter. He killed the engine. The wind immediately rocked the car. He could hear it howling, could feel the cold seeping through the door seals. He pulled his jacket tighter and stepped out into the storm. The cold hit him like a slap. His breath fogged instantly. Snow stung his face. He lowered his head and pushed toward the station entrance. The door was frozen half open. He had to shoulder it to get inside. Warmth, relative warmth anyway. A space heater glowed orange in the corner. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. A man behind the counter looked up. Old, weathered, the kind of face that had seen too many winters. Marcus nodded, filled a coffee cup from the machine that looked like it had been there since the 80s. The coffee was burnt, but it was hot. He wrapped both hands around the cup and let the heat sink into his fingers. That was when he heard it, a sound that did not belong. A low, low whimper. Pained, desperate. Marcus turned toward the sound. Through the dirty window, he could see the side lot, what passed for a flea market in better weather. A few folding tables, cardboard boxes. Someone had set up despite the storm. And there, beneath a sagging tarp, movement. Marcus pushed back outside. The wind tried to shove him backward, but he leaned into it. His boots crunched through fresh snow. He moved toward the tarp. A man stood there. Thin, ragged coat too big for his frame. His face was shadowed by a hood, but Marcus could see the tension in his posture. The way his eyes darted toward the road, then back to Marcus. On the ground beside him was a ding. A German shepherd, but calling it a dog felt wrong. This was something closer to a ghost. Ribs showing through matted fur. Legs stretched out, not moving, eyes half closed. A cardboard sign leaned against a crate. The letters were uneven, shaky. $10. Last chance. Marcus stared. The dog did not move, did not make a sound. But something in those half-closed eyes pulled at him. Something that whispered this animal knew exactly what last chance meant. The man in the ragged coat spoke. His voice was rough, nervous. Take him or he dies tonight. I cannot keep him. I cannot feed him. Marcus knelt slowly. The snow soaked through his uniform pants. He did not care. Up close, the dog looked worse. Scars crisscrossed the shoulders. Old burns marked the left side. The collar was cracked leather. No tags, no identification. Just worn material that had been cut, deliberately cut. Marcus reached out, slowly. The dog's eyes opened a fraction wider, not in fear, in assessment, like the animal was measuring him, deciding if this human was worth trusting. Where did he come from? Marcus kept his voice low. Calm. The man shifted his weight. Found him a couple weeks back. Been trying to get rid of him since. Nobody wants a dog this far gone. Marcus studied the scars again. These were not normal injuries, not from fights with other strays. These were methodical, patterned, the kind of marks that came from something organized, something professional. $10. The man said it again, quieter this time, almost pleading. Marcus should have said no, should have walked away. He had Emma to think about, a job, bills, responsibilities. He did not need a half-dead dog complicating his life. But then he thought about Emma, about how she had been asking for a dog for 6 months, ever since her mother died, ever since the world got colder and quieter and lonelier. Marcus pulled out his wallet, found a $10 bill, held it out. The man snatched it so fast Marcus barely saw his hand move. He stuffed the bill into his coat and stepped back. You are making a mistake. That dog is nothing but trouble. Then he turned and walked toward a rusted pickup truck parked behind the tables. The engine started, coughed, caught. The truck pulled away into the storm. Taillights disappeared into white. Marcus was alone with the dog. He slipped his arms under the animal as gently as possible. The dog was heavier than he looked. Solid muscle beneath the starved frame. Marcus carried him to the patrol car, laid him across the back seat. The dog's breathing was shallow, ragged, but steady. Marcus climbed into the driver's seat, started the engine, cranked the heat. He glanced in the rearview mirror. The dog had not moved, just lay there, eyes half open, watching. The drive home took 40 minutes. Normally it was 20, but the storm had turned the roads into skating rinks. Marcus drove slowly, carefully. His mind kept circling back to the scars, the cut collar, the way the seller had looked nervous, afraid even. He pulled into his driveway just after 5. The porch light was on. Mrs. Henderson's doing probably. The old widow never forgot details like that. Marcus killed the engine, opened the back door. The dog lifted his head slightly, a small effort that clearly cost him. Come on, buddy. Marcus kept his tone gentle. Let's get you inside. He carried the dog up the porch steps, shouldered open the front door. Warmth rushed out to meet him. The smell of something cooking, soup maybe. Mrs. Henderson. Daddy! Emma's voice rang out from the living room, high, excited. Then she appeared, brown hair in 2 braids, her right leg in a brace like always. She moved with the careful, practiced rhythm of someone who had learned to navigate the world on one good leg and one that did not quite work right. A birth defect. Something about nerve damage. The doctors had used bigger words, but it all meant the same thing. Emma would always need help walking, would always need the brace, but she never let it slow her down. She stopped when she saw the dog in Marcus's arms. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth formed a perfect O. You got a dog. She whispered it like a prayer. Marcus carried the shepherd to the blanket he had spread on the floor, laid him down gently. The dog's eyes tracked Emma, watched her limp closer. Is he okay? Emma knelt beside the dog. Her small hand reached out, hesitated. He has been hurt, Marcus said, but he is going to be fine. We are going to help him. Emma's fingers touched the dog's head. So light, so careful. The dog's eyes closed, not in fear, in something that looked like relief. Mrs. Henderson appeared from the kitchen, wooden spoon still in hand, flour dusting her apron. She was 70 if she was a day, white hair pulled back, glasses perched on her nose. She looked at the pig, then at Marcus, then back to the dog. Well, she said, I suppose he needed a home. Marcus nodded. I suppose he did. That first night, the dog did not eat, did not drink, just lay on the blanket and watched. Emma stayed with him. She brought her pillows from her room, made a nest on the floor. Marcus told her she needed to sleep in her bed, but Emma shook her head. What if he gets scared? What if he thinks we left him? So Marcus let her stay. He sat in the armchair nearby, kept watch while Emma curled up beside the dog. She whispered to the animal, soft words Marcus could not quite hear. The dog's breathing evened out. His eyes closed all the way for the first time. Marcus must have dozed. When he woke, the house was dark. The clock read 2:15. Emma was asleep. Her hand rested on the dog's back, rising and falling with each breath. But the dog was awake. His head was up, ears forward, staring at the back door. Marcus sat up slowly. What is it, boy? The dog stood, shaky, weak, but determined. He limped toward the hallway, toward the back of the house. Marcus followed, grabbed his flashlight. The dog stopped at the door to the mudroom, the room Marcus barely used, where he stored old tools, boxes he had not opened since before his wife died. Junk. The dog scratched at the door, once, twice. A weak sound, but insistent. Marcus opened it. The dog pushed past him, moved through the clutter with surprising precision, like he knew exactly where he was going. He stopped at the back corner, where Marcus had stacked old paint cans against the wall. The dog nosed at the floor, whined, a sound that raised the hair on Marcus's neck. Marcus knelt, shined the light. The floor looked normal, old wood, scuffed, nothing special, but the dog kept pawing, kept whining. Marcus pressed his hand against the boards. One of them shifted just slightly. His heart kicked up a notch. He had lived in this house for 8 years, bought it from an estate sale after the previous owner died. He thought he knew every inch of it. He grabbed a screwdriver from the toolbox, pried at the loose board. It came up easier than it should have. Beneath it was darkness, a space that should not exist. Marcus reached in. His fingers touched something solid, metal, cold. He pulled it out. A case, military grade, black, sealed. The dog sat back on his haunches, watching, waiting. Marcus carried the case to the kitchen table. His hands were shaking. He did not know why. He flipped the latches. They opened with a sharp click that sounded too loud in the quiet house. Inside were documents, sealed in plastic, organized, professional, and a flash drive, small, black, anonymous. Marcus picked up the top document. His breath stopped. The header was clear even through the plastic. Unit 9, classified, eyes only, his brother's unit, David's unit. David, who had died 2 years ago. David, who had been a K-9 handler for some special task force Marcus had never fully understood. David, whose funeral had been closed casket because the car accident had been too severe. Marcus's hands were definitely shaking now. He broke the seal on the plastic, pulled out the papers, read the first page. Operation Silent Chain, terminated, all personnel eliminated. No survivors. The words blurred. Marcus read them again. Eliminated. Not killed. Not lost. Eliminated. He looked at the scars, the burns, the cut collar. You were there. Marcus's voice came out hoarse. You were with David. The dog's ears flicked forward. His tail moved. Just once. Marcus grabbed his laptop from the charging station, booted it up, his personal computer. Not his work one. Some instinct told him to keep this separate. He plugged in the flash drive. A single file appeared. Video. Encrypted. But the password prompt had a hint. 6 digits. David's badge number. Marcus typed it in. The file opened. The video was shaky. Body cam footage. Dark. A warehouse. Voices shouting. Dogs barking. Then gunfire. Muzzle flashes lighting up the darkness. A voice Marcus would recognize anywhere. David's voice. Screaming. Run, Shadow, run! Get out! Go! The camera jerked. An explosion. Bright, deafening even through laptop speakers. The image cut to static. The timestamp read 2 years, 2 months, 14 days ago, the day David died. Except David had not died in a car accident. He had died here, in this warehouse, with his team. Marcus scrolled through the other files. Photos, surveillance images, maps, and names, a list of names, officers, judges, city officials, all marked with red X's, all except one name at the bottom, Commander Victor Hale, retired. Marcus knew that name. Hale had been at David's funeral, had given a speech about honor and service and sacrifice, had shaken Marcus's hand and looked him in the eye. A car door slammed outside. Marcus's head snapped up. The dog was already on his feet, growling, low, controlled. Marcus moved to the window, peeked through the curtain. A dark sedan sat across the street. Engine running, no markings, no lights. His phone buzzed. A text from a number he did not recognize. You found something you should not have. Smart move would be to forget you saw it. Marcus's blood turned cold. He looked at the dog, at the evidence spread across his table, at Emma asleep in the living room. Another text. We know you have the dog. We know you opened the case. Last chance. Walk away. The dog's growl deepened. His body was rigid, every muscle coiled. Ready. Marcus made a decision. He grabbed his phone, but not to reply to the threats. He scrolled to a name, Captain Sarah Bennett, his former training officer, the one person in the department he trusted without question. The phone rang 3 times. Her voice came through groggy. This better be good, Cole. I need you to come to my house. Marcus kept his voice low. Do not call it in. Do not tell anyone. Just come. Marcus, what is going on? I found something about David, about Unit 9. Silence on the other end. Then Bennett's voice came back. Different now, sharp, alert. Do not touch anything else. I am on my way. 20 minutes. The line went dead. Marcus looked out the window again. The sedan was still there, waiting. The dog pressed against his leg, solid, steady, like he was saying, I am here. I will protect what matters. Marcus reached down, rested his hand on the dog's head. What is your name, boy? David called you Shadow, did he not? The dog's tail moved. A small wag. Recognition. Okay, Shadow. Marcus's voice was quiet but firm. We are going to finish what David started. But first we keep Emma safe. He moved through the house, checked every lock, every window, drew the curtains. The whole time Shadow stayed at his side, moving like a trained soldier, because that was what he was, not a pet, a soldier. Marcus returned to the kitchen, looked at the evidence again. 2 years. Shadow had survived 2 years, had carried the secret, had waited for someone to find it, to understand it. The dog had not just survived, he had completed his mission. A soft sound from the living room, Emma stirring. Marcus moved quickly, closed the laptop, shoved the documents back in the case. By the time Emma appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes, Shadow was sitting calmly beside the table. No sign of the tension from moments before. Daddy, Emma's voice was sleepy. Why are you awake? Could not sleep, sweetheart. Marcus forced a smile. Storm kept me up. Emma looked at Shadow. The dog immediately went to her, pressed his nose into her hand. Emma giggled, a sound that cut through the tension like sunlight through clouds. He likes me. She said it with wonder. He does. Marcus agreed. He likes you very much. Emma yawned. Can I give him a name? Marcus glanced at the dog. Shadow looked back. Some understanding passed between them. He already has a name, honey. Shadow. Do you like it? Emma tested it out. Shadow. She smiled. That is a good name for a good dog. She knelt, wrapped her thin arms around Shadow's neck. The dog stood perfectly still, patient, gentle, like he understood this little girl was precious, was worth protecting. Headlights swept through the front window. Marcus tensed, but it was Bennett's truck. He recognized the sound of the engine. Emma, go back to bed, okay? I have a visitor. Emma nodded, kissed Shadow's head, limped back towards her room. Shadow watched her go, did not relax until her door closed. Marcus opened the front door. Bennett stood on the porch. Snow dusted her shoulders. Her face was hard, professional, but her eyes held something else. Worry, maybe, or fear. She stepped inside, looked at Shadow. The dog growled, low, warning. Bennett stopped. That is a K9. That is David's K9. Marcus closed the door, locked it. Show her Shadow. Shadow moved to the window, lifted his head, focused on the sedan still parked across the street. Bennett's hand went to her weapon. Who is that? I do not know, but they know I found this. Marcus gestured to the case on the table. Bennett approached it slowly, looked inside. Her face went pale. Sweet Jesus, where did you get this? Shadow found it, hidden in my house. I did not even know it was there. Bennett picked up one of the documents. Read it. Her jaw tightened. Marcus, do you understand what this is? Evidence. Evidence that David and his whole unit were murdered. Not just murdered. Bennett's voice dropped. Eliminated by their own people. This is internal. This is... She stopped. Looked at the names, at Hale's name at the bottom. This is going to burn the whole department to the ground. Good. Marcus's voice was hard. They killed my brother. They covered it up. They deserve to burn. Bennett looked at him, then at Shadow, then back at the papers. She pulled out her phone. What are you doing? Marcus stepped forward, calling the state police, FBI, anyone who is not local. Because if this is real, Marcus, if even half of this is real, she met his eyes, then everyone you know in this department could be compromised, including me. Marcus had not thought of that. The idea that even Bennett, his mentor, his friend, could be part of it. She saw the doubt on his face. I am not. I swear on my life I am not. But you cannot trust anyone local. Do you understand? No one. Shadow barked, sharp, once. They both turned. The sedan was moving. Pulling away from the curb, driving slowly down the street. They are leaving, Bennett said. No, Marcus shook his head. They are repositioning. They know you are here now. They are regrouping. Bennett cursed under her breath. We need to move this evidence, get it somewhere safe. Where? Marcus demanded. If the whole department is dirty, where is safe? Bennett thought for a moment. My sister. She lives in Billings, 3 hours away. We can. She stopped. Her phone was buzzing. She looked at the screen, frowned. What? Text from dispatch. Body found at the old gas station. Mile marker 47. Marcus felt ice spread through his chest. The seller. The man who sold him Shadow. Bennett was already pulling up details. Male, late 40s, single gunshot, wallet missing, but ID in the truck. Name was Jake Morrison. They killed him, Marcus said flatly, because he sold me the dog instead of killing it. Bennett looked at Shadow. The boss sat perfectly still, alert, aware. This is bigger than I thought, Bennett said quietly. If they are willing to kill civilians to cover this up. She looked at Marcus. You and Emma are not safe here. The words hung in the air. A sound from down the hall, Emma's door opening, small footsteps. She appeared in the doorway again, eyes wide. Daddy, why is Miss Bennett here? Why do you look scared? Marcus crossed to her, knelt down, took her hands. Sweetheart, we might need to go somewhere for a little while, like a trip. Emma looked past him to Bennett, to Shadow, to the case on the table. She was 8, but she was not stupid. She had lived through her mother's death. She knew when adults were lying to make her feel better. Is someone bad coming? Her voice was small. Marcus could not lie to her. Not about this, maybe. But Shadow is going to keep us safe, and Miss Bennett is going to help. Okay. Emma nodded slowly. Okay, can Shadow come with us? Shadow is not going anywhere without us, Marcus promised. Emma seemed to accept this. She went to Shadow. The dog immediately moved to her side, let her lean against him. Bennett was on her phone again, making calls, quiet, coded, setting things in motion. Marcus looked at his daughter, at the gang who had found him, at the evidence that was going to change everything. He thought about David, about the last time they had talked, a phone call 3 days before the funeral. David had sounded strange, distant, had said something Marcus had not understood at the time. If anything happens to me, David had said, take care of Shadow. He knows things, important things. Marcus had thought it was just talk, the kind of things soldiers said, superstition maybe. But David had known what was coming, had hidden the evidence, had sent Shadow running, had bet everything on the chance that somehow someday Shadow would find someone who would listen. And Shadow had found Marcus, his handler's brother, the one person who would care enough to fight. Bennett ended her call. Okay, I have a safe house set up. Federal jurisdiction. We leave in 10 minutes. Pack light, just essentials. Marcus nodded. He started to move, but Shadow blocked his path. The dog looked at him, really looked at him. And in those dark eyes, Marcus saw something that made his chest tight. Grief. Shadow was grieving, still grieving David, still carrying the weight of what he had seen, what he had lost. I am sorry, boy. Marcus's voice cracked. I am so sorry. They took him from you. Shadow leaned into his hand, a small gesture. Forgiveness, maybe, or understanding. Emma tugged Marcus's sleeve. Daddy, we should pray. Marcus blinked. What? Mommy always said we should pray when we are scared, that God listens. Marcus had not prayed in 2 years, not since his wife died, not since the anger and grief had turned into a hard knot in his chest. But Emma was looking at him with those big trusting eyes, and he could not say no. He knelt. Emma knelt beside him. Shadow sat, watching, guarding. Marcus bowed his head. The words came slowly. Rusty, God, if you are listening, keep us safe. Help us find the truth. Help us. He stopped. Started again. Help us finish what David started. Amen, Emma whispered. Amen, Marcus echoed. Bennett watched from the doorway, did not comment, just gave a small nod. They packed quickly, Emma's medicines, her leg brace, clothes, Shadow's new collar that Emma had already picked out even though they had only had him for a day. The evidence case. 10 minutes later, they were in Bennett's truck. Marcus in front, Emma and Shadow in the back. The dog positioned between Emma and the door. Protective. Bennett drove fast but careful. The storm had eased, but the roads were still treacherous. They made it 5 miles before the headlights appeared behind them. We have company, Bennett said quietly. Marcus looked in the side mirror. 2 vehicles. Dark, no plates visible. Gaining. How far to the safe house? 40 minutes. Maybe less if we push it. They are not going to let us get there. Shadow's hackles rose, a low growl building in his chest. Hold on. Bennett stomped the accelerator. The truck surged forward. The chase lasted 12 miles. Bennett pushed the truck hard through curves that should have been taken at half the speed. The vehicles behind them matched at every move, professional, trained. Shadow braced himself in the back seat. His body formed a living shield around Emma. The little girl pressed her face against his fur. She was not crying, not making a sound, just holding on. Marcus had his phone out, calling for backup, but every number he tried went to voicemail. The federal agents Bennett had contacted, the state police, even the sheriff in the next county, all unavailable. They are blocking us. Bennett's knuckles were white on the wheel, jamming signals or paying people off. Either way, we are on our own. The road ahead forked. Bennett took the turn that led deeper into the mountains, away from towns, away from help, but also away from civilians who could get caught in whatever was about to happen. The headlights behind them fell back, not giving up, just confident, like they knew where Bennett was going, like they had all the time in the world. Bennett saw it too. Her jaw tightened. They are hurting us. Where? Marcus scanned the darkness ahead. I do not know, but we are about to find out. The road climbed higher. The trees pressed in close on both sides, then suddenly opened into a clearing. An old rest stop, abandoned for years, picnic tables rotting under a rusted shelter. Bennett slowed, stopped. The engine ticked in the sudden silence. Why are we stopping? Marcus demanded. Because if we keep running, they will just run us off the road. Bennett pulled her weapon, checked it. At least here we have cover. A chance. The vehicles behind them pulled into the clearing. Three now. Marcus had not seen the third one join. They formed a loose semicircle, blocking the only road out, headlights blazing, turning the clearing into a stage. Doors open, men stepped out. 6 of them. Dark clothes, no badges, no identification. But they moved like cops, like soldiers. One of them stepped forward, older than the others, graying hair, expensive coat. His face caught the light and Marcus felt his stomach drop. Commander Victor Hale. Marcus had seen him at David's funeral, had shaken his hand, had listened to him talk about honor and brotherhood. And the whole time Hale had known, had been part of it, had maybe even given the order. Marcus Cole. Hale's voice carried across the clearing. Calm, almost friendly. This does not have to end badly. Marcus opened his door, stood. Bennett did the same on her side. Shadow growled from the back seat but stayed with Emma. You killed my brother. Marcus kept his voice level. You killed his whole team. Hale sighed, like he was disappointed in a student who had failed to understand a simple lesson. Your brother discovered something he should not have. He made choices that put a lot of important people at risk. What people? The Volkov Syndicate. The ones paying you to look the other way while they moved drugs and guns through Montana. Hale's expression did not change. You have been busy, reading things that were not meant for your eyes. Those documents are going to the FBI, to the Attorney General, to every news station in the state. Marcus stepped forward. You are finished, Hale. Am I? Hale looked past Marcus, to the truck, to the back window where Emma's small face was visible. Because it seems to me you have something more important to worry about than my career. Marcus felt ice flood his veins. You leave her out of this. Hale spread his hands. I would love to, truly, but you have put me in a difficult position. Those documents, that flash drive, they need to disappear permanently. And so does anyone who has seen them. Bennett raised her weapon. You are not touching that child. Hale did not even look at her. Captain Bennett, I had hoped you would be smarter than this. You are throwing away a good career. A pension. For what? A conspiracy theory. It is not a theory when we have the bodies. Bennett's voice was steel. Jake Morrison, found dead this morning. How many others? Hale? How many people have you killed to keep this quiet? Only the ones who gave me no choice. Hale's face hardened. Like David, he could have walked away. Could have taken a generous retirement and kept his mouth shut. But he had to be a hero, had to gather evidence, had to put his dog in the middle of it. Shadow's growl deepened. The sound carried across the clearing. Hale looked at the truck, at the dog barely visible in the back. Ah, so he survived, I wondered. We searched for weeks after the warehouse, found nothing, assumed the cold got him. But David trained him well, did he not? Taught him to evade, to hide, to wait. Marcus's hands curled into fists. What do you want, Hale? The evidence, all of it, the documents, the drive, any copies you made. You give me that and you walk away. You and Emma. You go home. You forget this happened. You live, and if I say no, Hale looked genuinely sad. Then I do what I should have done 2 years ago. What I paid Jake Morrison $5,000 to do 2 weeks ago, I eliminate the problem. The men behind Hale shifted, hands moving toward weapons. Bennett's finger tightened on her trigger. Marcus, get Emma out of here. Marcus turned toward the truck but froze. The back door was open. Emma was standing beside it, Shadow at her side. The dog's body was rigid. Ready. Emma, Marcus started toward her. Stay there, Daddy. Emma's voice was small but clear. She held something in her hand. Da in my hand. The flash drive, she must have taken it from the evidence case when they were packing. I heard what he said about Uncle David, about Shadow. Emma, get back in the truck. Marcus tried to keep the fear out of his voice, but she shook her head, stepped forward. Shadow moved with her, a matched pair, the little girl with the leg brace and the scarred war dog. You are a bad man, Emma said to Hale. You hurt people. You hurt my uncle. Hale studied her. Something flickered across his face. Not quite remorse, but close. I am sorry about your uncle, sweetheart. I truly am. But grown-up problems sometimes require grown-up solutions. Emma held up the flash drive. You want this? Emma? No. Marcus lunged forward, but two of Hale's men moved faster, grabbed him, forced him to his knees. Bennett swung her weapon toward them, but another man had circled behind her, pressed a gun to her spine. Drop it, Captain. Bennett's weapon hit the ground. Hale walked toward Emma, Shadow's lips pulled back, a snarl that promised violence. But Emma put her hand on his head. Wait, just wait. Hale stopped 6 feet away. Smart girl. Yes, I want that very much. Emma looked at the flash drive, then at Marcus, then back to Hale. My mama used to say that God sees everything, that bad people always get caught, that the truth always comes out. Hale's jaw tightened. Your mother sounds like she was a good woman, but sometimes the truth is more complicated than that. She also said we should pray for our enemies. Emma's eyes were wide, serious. So I am going to pray for you, that you stop being bad, that you tell the truth. Hale looked thrown. For just a moment, his mask slipped. Then he caught himself. That is very kind, sweetheart. But right now, I need you to give me that drive. Emma closed her hand around it. Okay, but you have to promise not to hurt my daddy, or Miss Bennett, or Shadow. Hale nodded slowly. I promise, you have my word. Emma believed him. Marcus could see it in her face. The way 8-year-old children still believe that adults kept their promises. That words meant something. She held out the drive. Hale reached for it. Shadow exploded into motion. The dog launched himself at Hale with a speed that defied his injuries. 90 pounds of muscle and fury and 2 years of contained rage. Hale stumbled backward. The drive flew from Emma's hand, shattered across the dirt. Gunfire erupted. Marcus threw himself toward Emma, tackled her to the ground, covered her body with his. Bennett swept the legs out from under the man behind her, grabbed his weapon, fired twice. 2 of Hale's men went down. Shadow had Hale on the ground, jaws locked around his wrist, the hand that had been reaching for his gun. Hale screamed, tried to shake the dog loose. Shadow held on. The clearing descended into chaos. Marcus pulled Emma toward the truck. She was crying now. Scared, he pushed her into the back seat. Stay down, do not move. He turned back. Bennett was pinned behind the truck. Trading shots with 3 men, Marcus grabbed the weapon from one of the fallen men. Returned fire. But they were outnumbered, outgunned, and Hale's men were professionals. They moved with precision, covered each other, advanced steadily. Shadow released Hale's wrist. The commander scrambled backward. His hand was bleeding, mangled, but he managed to pull his backup weapon with his left hand, aimed at Shadow. No! Marcus swung his weapon toward Hale, fired. The shot went wide, hit the ground beside Hale, but it was enough to make him flinch. Shadow darted away, disappeared into the darkness beyond the headlights. Hale cursed, clutched his ruined wrist. His men formed up around him. Fall back. Hale's voice was ragged with pain. We regroup. Come at them from the trees. The men retreated to the vehicles. Doors slammed, engines started, but they did not leave, just repositioned. Headlights cutting through the trees at different angles. Surrounding the clearing, Marcus crouched beside Bennett. We cannot hold this position. I know. Bennett ejected an empty magazine, slammed in a fresh one. Her last one. We need backup, real backup. Marcus checked his phone. Still no signal, still jammed. A sound from the darkness. Shadow emerging from the trees. But not alone. He was moving with purpose, leading someone. Marcus raised his weapon, squinted into the shadows. A figure appeared, walking slowly, hands raised. An old woman, Mrs. Henderson. Marcus's heart stopped. What? How? She had her own phone out, held high, not jammed. The old technology, basic flip phone, and she was talking into it. Yes, rest stop on a Highway 47. Officer needs assistance. Shots fired. Multiple suspects. Mrs. Henderson reached the truck, lowered her phone. Help is coming. 10 minutes, maybe less. How did you... Marcus could not finish the question. I followed you, Mrs. Henderson said simply. When you took Emma in the middle of the night, when Captain Bennett looked so worried, I knew something was wrong, so I followed, stayed back, out of sight. You could have been killed. Bennett stared at her. Mrs. Henderson shrugged. I am 72 years old. My husband is gone. My children live in other states. If God wants to take me while I am helping people I love, she looked at Emma in the truck. Then I figure that is a pretty good way to go. Shadow pressed against her leg. She reached down, scratched his ears. Good boy. You protected them. Hale's voice boomed across the clearing. I hear sirens, Cole, but they will not get here in time. We can finish this in 2 minutes. Or you can give me what I want and everyone goes home. Marcus looked at Mrs. Henderson, at Bennett, at Emma crying softly in the truck. He thought about David, about the choice his brother had made. To fight, to gather evidence, to put himself between evil and the innocent, even when it cost him everything. Marcus stood, walked into the light, hands at his sides. Hale, you want to talk, then talk. But let the women and the child go. Hale stepped from behind his vehicle. His wrist was wrapped in a makeshift bandage, blood seeping through. You are not in a position to negotiate, neither are you. Marcus gestured toward the sound of sirens, growing louder. Real police, state police, people you do not own. They are going to want to know why a retired commander is in a shootout in the woods with federal evidence on the ground. Hale's face twisted. You self-righteous. He bit off the words. David was the same one. Thought he was so much better than everyone else. Thought he could change the system. He tried. Marcus's voice was steady. He died trying, but he made sure someone would finish it. He sent Shadow to find me. He hid the evidence where I would find it. He bet everything that I would care enough to see it through. Hale laughed, bitter. And look where it got you, bleeding in the dirt, watching your daughter crown mine, about to die for the same worthless cause. Marcus shook his head. No, I am standing here watching you run out of time, watching your whole operation fall apart, because of a $10 dog and the brother who would not quit. The sirens were close now, lights visible through the trees. Hale raised his weapon. Then you are going to die for nothing. Marcus closed his eyes, thought of his wife, of David. God, if you are listening, take care of Emma. A bark, sharp, commanding. Marcus's eyes snapped open. Shadow stood between him and Hale. The dog who should have been too injured to fight, too traumatized to trust. But there he was, refusing to let another handler die. Hale aimed at the dog. Shadow did not move. 3 things happened at once. Bennett fired from beside the truck, hit Hale in the shoulder. His shot went wild. Marcus lunged forward, tackled Hale to the ground, and 6 state police cruisers burst into the clearing. Lights blazing, officers pouring out with weapons drawn, hands up, hands where we can see them. The commands rang out across the clearing. Hale's men dropped their weapons, surrendered. They knew when they were beaten. Marcus pushed himself off Hale. The commander was bleeding from 2 wounds now, wrist and shoulder, but alive, conscious. Staring up at Marcus was something like disbelief. "You should have walked away," Hale whispered. "Should have taken the deal." Marcus looked down at him. "My brother did not walk away, neither will I." State police moved in, cuffed Hale, cuffed his men, read them their rights. The lead officer approached Marcus. "Officer Cole, are you injured?" Marcus shook his head. "My daughter, in the truck. She is scared." The officer nodded. "We have paramedics coming." He looked around the clearing. "This is one hell of a scene. You want to tell me what happened here?" Before Marcus could answer, Mrs. Henderson stepped forward. "I can tell you what happened. These men attacked a police officer and his family, tried to kill them to cover up the murder of an entire K-9 unit 2 years ago. And this brave dog," she gestured to Shadow, "he saved all of us." The officer looked at Shadow, then at Marcus. "That's true. It is a lot more complicated than that," Marcus said. "But yes, that is the short version." The officer pulled out a notebook. "Then I am going to need the long version. But first," he gestured toward the truck, "go be with your daughter." Marcus did not need to be told twice. He ran to the truck, pulled open the door. Emma threw herself into his arms, sobbing, shaking. "I was so scared, Daddy. I thought. "I know, baby, I know." Marcus held her tight. "But we are okay. We are all okay." Shadow jumped into the truck, pressed close to both of them. Emma wrapped one arm around the dog, the other around her father. Bennett approached, bleeding from a graze on her arm but alive. She looked exhausted. "You did good, Cole. David would be proud." Marcus looked up at her. "Is it over?" Bennett glanced at Hale being loaded into an ambulance under guard. The evidence scattered across the clearing being carefully collected by state investigators. Not even close. "This is just the beginning. But we won. We got him." Sirens approached again. More vehicles, unmarked, federal plates, men and women in FBI windbreakers. Bennett straightened. "Here we go, federal jurisdiction. This is about to get very complicated." But Marcus did not care about complicated. He cared that Emma was safe, that Shadow was alive, that Hale was in custody. The rest would sort itself out. An FBI agent approached. "Special Agent Morrison, you are Officer Cole." Marcus nodded. "We have been trying to reach you for 6 hours. Captain Bennett made contact with us this morning. Told us about Unit 9, about the evidence you found. We have been scrambling to get here." 6 hours. Marcus felt the exhaustion hit him like a wave. It felt like days. Agent Morrison crouched down to Emma's level. "Hi there. You must be Emma. You are very brave." Emma wiped her eyes. "Shadow was braver. He saved us." Agent Morrison smiled. "Then Shadow is a hero." She looked at Marcus. "We are going to need to take statements, process the scene, but I want you to know this case, Unit 9, it has been on our radar for months. We knew something happened. We just could not prove it. Until now." "What happens to Hale?" Marcus asked. "He is going to a federal facility, maximum security. He will be charged with multiple counts of murder, corruption, racketeering. If even half of what Captain Bennett told us is true." Agent Morrison stood. "He is never seeing daylight again." Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. Relief, justice, the beginning of closure. Shadow rested his head on Marcus's knee. The dog's eyes were tired, but calm, like a weight had been lifted. "You did it, boy," Marcus whispered. "You got him. David can rest now." Shadow's tail wagged once, slow, deliberate. Emma looked up at her father. "Daddy, can we go home now?" Marcus looked around at the chaos, the police, The investigators, soon, sweetheart. We just need to answer some questions first. But as he said it, he realized something. They could not go home. Not to that house, not anymore. It was a crime scene now, evidence, part of a federal investigation. Agent Morrison seemed to read his mind. We have arranged temporary housing, a hotel in Billings, federal protection until the trial. It is not ideal, but it is fine, Marcus interrupted. As long as we are together, as long as Shadow can come. Shadow is a material witness, Agent Morrison said with a slight smile. He goes where you go. Over the next 2 hours, Marcus gave a statement, showed the agents where the evidence had been hidden, explained how Shadow had led him to it, how Jake Morrison had been killed, how Hale had admitted everything. Bennett gave her own statement. Mrs. Henderson gave hers. Even Emma answered gentle questions from a child specialist. Through it all, Shadow stayed close, moving from person to person, like he was checking on everyone, making sure they were okay. Finally, as dawn began to break over the mountains, Agent Morrison approached Marcus again. We are done for now. You can go. Get some rest. We will need more interviews in the coming days, but... She paused. You did the right thing. I know it does not feel like it right now. I know you are exhausted and scared, but you exposed something that needed to be exposed. Marcus nodded, numb. One more thing. Agent Morrison pulled out her phone, showed him a photo. We found something at the warehouse. The one from the body cam footage. In the basement. We almost missed it. Marcus looked at the photo. His heart stopped. It was a room, medical equipment, a bed, and in the bed, thin, pale, unconscious, but alive. David, his brother, alive. He is in a coma, Agent Morrison said quietly. Has been for 2 years. Hale kept him sedated, kept him hidden. We think, she hesitated. We think David might have seen something, known something Hale needed to extract. So instead of killing him outright, he kept him alive, just barely. Marcus could not breathe, could not think. Is he? Will he? The doctors are cautiously optimistic. He is being transferred to a secure medical facility. We are going to try to bring him back. But Marcus, she put a hand on his arm, you need to prepare yourself. Even if he wakes up after 2 years, he might not be the same person. I do not care. Marcus's voice broke. He is alive. That is all that matters. Shadow whined, pressed against Marcus's leg. Like he understood, like he had known all along that David was not really gone. Marcus looked down at the dog. You knew. You have been trying to tell me. Shadow's tail wagged, harder this time. Emma tugged Marcus's sleeve. Uncle David is alive. Really alive. Really alive. Marcus picked her up, held her close. We are going to see him. As soon as the doctors say we can. All of us. You and me and Shadow. Emma buried her face in his shoulder. I am going to pray for him every day. I am going to pray he wakes up. That is good, baby. That is really good. As the sun rose fully, Marcus stood with his daughter in his arms and Shadow at his side and watched the last of Hale's men being driven away. The clearing was taped off. Evidence markers everywhere. The quiet rest stop had become the scene of something much bigger. Bennett approached, looking like she had aged 10 years overnight. I am being placed on administrative leave. Pending investigation. Standard procedure. Marcus shifted Emma in his arms. I am sorry. Do not be. Bennett looked at the warehouse photo still on Agent Morrison's phone. We found David. We stopped Hale. Whatever happens to my career, it was worth it. Mrs. Henderson joined them, her old pickup parked at the edge of the clearing. I am going home, going to feed my cat. Pretend this was all a very strange dream. Thank you, Marcus said, for everything, for following us, for calling for help, for... She waved him off. You would have done the same. She patted Shadow. Take care of this one. He has been through enough. We will. Marcus promised. Mrs. Henderson drove away. Bennett headed to her own vehicle, and Marcus carried Emma to the FBI car that would take them to the hotel. Shadow jumped in first, claimed the back seat beside Emma. The little girl immediately curled against him. Exhausted, safe. Marcus climbed in front. Agent Morrison drove. The mountains rolled past, beautiful in the morning light, snow-covered peaks, pine forests, a world that looked peaceful even after everything that had just happened. Marcus closed his eyes, let himself breathe, let himself believe it was really over. But he knew it was not. There would be trials, testimony, media attention. The full story of Unit 9 and Victor Hale and the Volkov Syndicate would come out. It would be ugly, painful, hard. But David was alive. Hale was in custody. And Shadow, the $10 dog who had carried a nation's worth of grief and evidence and hope. Shadow had found his way home. Marcus reached back, rested his hand on the dog's head. Thank you, boy. Thank you for not giving up. Shadow licked his hand once, then settled, head on Emma's lap, eyes closing. For the first time in 2 years, the dog slept deeply, without fear, without nightmares. Because his mission was complete, his handler would live, justice would be served, and Marcus Cole, the brother who had listened, who had believed, who had fought, he would make sure of it. The hotel in Billings was nothing special. 3 stories, gray walls, a parking lot that needed repaving, but it had security, federal agents posted at every entrance, cameras covering every angle. It was safe, that was all that mattered. Marcus carried Emma on inside. She had fallen asleep in the car, her small body limp with exhaustion. Shadow followed close behind. The dog's limp was more pronounced now. Adrenaline wearing off, old injuries making themselves known again. Agent Morrison checked them in. 2 adjoining rooms, 3rd floor, corner position with good sight lines. She handed Marcus the key cards. Get some rest. We will debrief more tomorrow. What about David? Marcus kept his voice low. When can we see him? Agent Morrison pulled out her phone, checked something. The doctors say maybe tomorrow afternoon. They want to run more tests first. Make sure he is stable enough for visitors. Marcus nodded, swallowed hard. Thank you. He carried Emma to the first room, laid her gently on the bed. She did not wake, just curled onto her side. Shadow jumped up beside her, settled with his body between her and the door, protective even in sleep. Marcus stood there watching them, his daughter, his brother's dog. 2 beings who had been through hell and somehow still trusted, still hoped, still believed the world could be good. He thought about praying the way Emma had taught him again, the way his wife used to do every night before bed, but the words would not come, just a silent plea. Keep them safe. Please, just keep them safe. He did not remember lying down on the other bed, did not remember closing his eyes. But when he woke, sunlight was streaming through the curtains and someone was knocking on the door. Marcus jerked upright, hand going to his weapon before he remembered he had turned it into the state police. Evidence. Shadow was already at the door, not growling, tail wagging slightly, someone he knew. Marcus checked the peephole. Captain Bennett. He opened the door. She looked better than she had last night, showered, changed clothes, but her eyes were still tired, haunted. They are moving fast, she said without preamble. FBI raided 6 locations this morning, arrested 12 people, all connected to Hale's network. Marcus stepped aside. Let her in. Emma was still asleep. Bennett lowered her voice. One of them talked already. A judge in Billings. He gave up names, dates, transactions. The whole thing is unraveling. Good. Marcus felt a grim satisfaction. Let it burn. Bennett sat on the edge of the other bed. There is something else. The Volkov Syndicate. They are not happy. They lost their protection, their roots, millions in revenue, and they know it was because of the evidence Shadow carried. Marcus felt cold spread through his chest. They are coming after us. Not you directly. Bennett shook her head, but they put out word. $100,000 for information leading to the evidence. Another 100,000 for. She paused. For the dough. Marcus looked at Shadow. The DA had settled beside Emma again, completely unaware that he had a price on his head. We are protected here. Marcus said it like a statement, like saying it made it true. For now, Bennett agreed, but Marcus, this trial could take months, years. You cannot hide forever, and Emma, she needs to go back to school, to have a normal life. What are you saying? I am saying we need to end this, fast. Bennett leaned forward. The FBI wants to make a deal with one of the bigger players, someone high up in the Volkov network. Offer them immunity in exchange for testimony against everyone above them. Collapse the whole organization. In exchange for what? In exchange for leaving you alone. All of you, Emma, Shadow, David when he wakes up. Witness protection if you want it, or just. Bennett shrugged. A normal life. No looking over your shoulder? Marcus wanted to say yes, wanted to grab that offer with both hands, but something stopped him. David did not take a deal. He fought, even when it cost him everything wrong. I need to see my brother first, Marcus said finally. Talk to him if he wakes up. See what he would want. Bennett nodded slowly. Fair enough. The doctors called an hour ago. David is showing signs of consciousness. They are cautiously optimistic. Marcus felt his heart jump. When can we go? Now if you want, I can drive you. Emma stirred, sat up, rubbed her eyes. Daddy, where are we? We are safe, baby. Marcus moved to her side. How do you feel? Hungry. She looked around, spotted Bennett. Hi, Miss Bennett. Hi, sweetheart. Bennett smiled. How would you like to go see your Uncle David today? Emma's eyes went wide. Really? He is awake. Not yet, Marcus cautioned. But soon, maybe soon. They left Shadow in the room with a federal agent posted outside. The dog was reluctant to let Emma go, but Marcus promised they would be back soon. Shadow settled by the door, watching, waiting. The drive to the medical facility took 40 minutes. It was not a normal hospital, more like a fortress. High walls, armed guards, multiple checkpoints. This was where they kept witnesses, people whose testimony could bring down empires. David was on the third floor, intensive care. A doctor met them outside his room, young, professional, cautiously optimistic, like Agent Morrison had said. He has been in a medically induced coma for approximately 2 years. The doctor explained. Commander Hale used a combination of sedatives to keep him under. We have been slowly reducing the medication, letting his brain wake up naturally. And Marcus could barely get the word out, and he is responding. The doctor smiled. Eye movement, increased brain activity. We think he can hear us. We think he is trying to wake up. Can we see him? Emma pressed close to Marcus's side. The doctor hesitated. He looks different, thinner, medical equipment. It might be scary for a little one. I am not scared, Emma said firmly. He is my uncle. I want to see him. The doctor looked at Marcus. Your call. Marcus knelt down, looked Emma in the eyes. He might not look like you remember. He might not be able to talk to us yet, but he is still Uncle David, still the person who loved you. Okay. Emma nodded. They entered the room together. Marcus first, then Emma holding his hand. Bennett waited outside. David lay in the hospital bed, pale, so pale he almost blended into the sheets. Tubes and wires everywhere. Machines beeping softly. His face was gaunt, cheekbones sharp, hair longer than Marcus had ever seen it, streaked with gray that had not been there 2 years ago. But he was breathing, alive, real. Marcus moved closer, sat in the chair beside the bed, took his brother's hand. It was cold, thin, but there was a pulse, strong, steady. David, Marcus's voice cracked. It is me, Marcus, I am here. Nothing, no response, just the steady beep of the heart monitor. Emma climbed onto Marcus's lap, reached out. touched David's other hand. Uncle David, it is Emma. I got bigger. I am 8 now, and I have a dog. His name is Shadow. He is your dog. He found us. He saved us. Marcus felt tears burn his eyes. Blinked them back. We found the evidence. We got Hale. He is never going to hurt anyone again. David's fingers twitched, just barely, but Marcus felt it. Did you see that? He looked at the doctor. The doctor checked the monitors. Yes, that is good. Keep talking. He can hear you. Marcus leaned closer. Shadow is waiting for you. He has been waiting 2 years. He never gave up, never stopped trying to finish the mission. And he did it, David. He found me, led me to the evidence, protected Emma. He did everything you trained him to do. David's eyes moved beneath the lids, rapid, like he was dreaming or trying to wake. Come back, Marcus whispered. Please, we need you. Emma needs you. Shadow needs you. Emma started humming, soft, a melody Marcus recognized, a song their mother used to sing, a hymn about coming home, about finding rest. Marcus joined her, his voice rough but steady. They sang together, father and daughter, calling David back from wherever he had been lost. And slowly, so slowly Marcus almost missed it, David's eyes opened, just a crack, just enough to show a sliver of brown, confused, unfocused, but open. David. Marcus gripped his hand tighter. Can you hear me? David's lips moved. No sound came out, but Marcus could read the shape. Marcus. Yes, I am here. We are all here. David's eyes found Emma, widened slightly. Emma. The word was barely a breath. So big. Emma smiled through tears. I told you I got bigger. Over the next hour, David drifted in and out, sometimes aware, sometimes lost in whatever darkness he had been trapped in. But each time he surfaced, he stayed a little longer, focused a little better. The doctors were amazed. They called it a miracle. Marcus called it determination. David had always been stubborn. Even a 2-year coma could not change that. By evening, David could speak in short sentences, could answer simple questions, could understand that Hale was in custody, that the evidence had been found, that Shadow had survived. Where is he? David's voice was raspy, weak. Shadow, where? Safe, Marcus promised. With federal protection. He wanted to be here, but they would not allow dogs in the ICU. But he knows you are alive. He is waiting. David closed his eyes. A single tear rolled down his cheek. Good boy, he whispered. Good boy, Shadow. Emma leaned close. Uncle David, when you get better, you can come live with us, you and Shadow. We have a big house. Well, she paused. We had a big house. I do not know where we are going to live now. But wherever it is, you can come. David smiled, faint but real. I would like that. Marcus stayed until the doctors insisted David needed to rest. Real rest, without stimulation. They promised to call if anything changed. Back at the hotel, Shadow knew immediately that something had shifted. He sniffed Marcus carefully. Then Emma. His tail started wagging. Faster and faster. He woke up, Emma told the dog. Uncle David woke up. He asked about you. Shadow barked. Once. Sharp, joyful. Over the next 3 weeks, David's recovery progressed faster than anyone expected. He moved from ICU to a regular room, started physical therapy, relearned how to walk, how to feed himself, how to exist in the world again. Marcus and Emma visited every day, sometimes twice a day. They told him everything about the arrest, about the FBI investigation, about the network crumbling, about the trial that was coming. But they also told him about small things, about Emma's schoolwork, about Mrs. Henderson who had followed them into danger, about Shadow who slept by the hotel room door every night, still guarding, still protecting. David listened to everything. Sometimes he cried, sometimes he laughed. Mostly he just held Marcus's hand and seemed grateful to be alive. 3 weeks after waking up, the doctors cleared David for visitors beyond immediate family. Marcus brought Shadow. The reunion happened in a therapy room, neutral ground. The doctors worried about overstimulation, about emotional trauma, about a dozen things that might go wrong. But the moment David saw Shadow, nothing else mattered. The dog crossed the room in 3 bounds. Injuries forgotten, exhaustion forgotten. He pressed against David, whining, crying, a sound of pure relief and love. David wrapped his arms around Shadow, buried his face in the dog's fur. "I am sorry." He said it over and over. "I am so sorry, boy. I am so sorry I left you." Shadow licked his face, his hands, his tears, forgiveness given freely, completely. Marcus watched with Emma, both of them crying. The therapist was crying. Even the stoic federal agent posted outside had to look away. This was what healing looked like. This was what coming home meant. But the peace did not last. 2 days later, Agent Morrison arrived at the hotel. Her face was grave. "We have a problem." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "What kind of problem?" "The Volkov Syndicate. They are not waiting for the trial. They sent a message. Either we make the evidence disappear, either we release Hale, or they start targeting witnesses, starting with the ones in protective custody." "David," Marcus said flatly. "And you. And Emma." Morrison nodded. "They know where David is. They know you visit him. They are planning something. We do not know what. But our sources say it is happening soon. So we run." Marcus started mentally cataloging what they would need, where they could go. "We tried that." Bennett appeared behind Morrison. "It did not work. They found us before. They will find us again." "Then what?" Marcus demanded. "What do we do?" "We go public." A new voice. David wheeling himself into the room. He looked stronger, color in his face, but still thin, still marked by what he had endured. "We release everything, every document, every recording, every name. Make it so public they cannot bury it, cannot kill everyone who knows. That is too dangerous." Morrison protested. "If the syndicate thinks you are about to expose them, they will move immediately." "They are already moving," David said calmly. "At least this way we control the narrative. We choose the battlefield." Marcus looked at his brother. "You just woke up. You are still recovering. You do not have to do this." "Yes, I do." David met his eyes. "This is what I started 2 years ago, what my team died for. I am finishing it." Emma tugged Marcus's sleeve. "Daddy, we should pray about it, like Mommy taught us." Everyone stopped, looked at the 8-year-old girl. "She is right," David smiled. "We should." So they did. Right there in the hotel room, Marcus, David, Emma, Bennett, even Agent Morrison and the federal agents posted outside. They bowed their heads, and David prayed. "Lord, we are scared. We are tired. We have been through things no one should have to endure. But we trust that you see us, that you have a plan. Give us wisdom. Give us courage. And if this is our time, if this is where our story ends, then let it mean something. Let justice be served. Let the truth set people free." "Amen. Amen," Emma echoed, followed by every other voice in the room. They decided to do it. A press conference. Full disclosure. Every piece of evidence David and his team had gathered. Every name. Every transaction. Every corrupt official from Montana to Wyoming. Everything. The FBI tried to stop them. Argued it would compromise ongoing investigations, would let criminals escape, would cause chaos. But David was unmovable, and legally he had the right. The evidence was his team's. He could do with it what he wanted. The press conference was scheduled for 10 a.m. on a Thursday. A week after David woke up, they held it at the federal building in Billings. Maximum security. Media from across the country. Marcus stood backstage with Emma and Shadow. David was in his wheelchair, still too weak to stand for long periods. But his mind was sharp, his resolve unshakable. Bennett appeared, handed Marcus a vest. Kevlar, put it on. You think they will try something here? Marcus's hands shook as he fastened the straps. I think they are desperate. Bennett helped Emma into a smaller vest, custom-made, child-sized, which makes them dangerous. Shadow already wore a tactical vest, K9 unit grade, protection and identification. He looked every inch the war dog he was. They are ready for you. A stage manager appeared. 5 minutes. David wheeled forward, stopped beside Marcus. If anything happens to me, make sure Emma knows I loved her. Make sure Shadow, he paused. Make sure he finds peace. Nothing is going to happen, Marcus said firmly. We are ending this today. They went on stage together, David in his wheelchair, Marcus standing beside him, Emma sitting in a chair with Shadow at her feet, Bennett and Agent Morrison flanking them, a show of unity, of strength. The cameras flashed, questions shouted. The moderator called for order. David rolled up to the microphone, took a breath, and began to speak. He told them everything about Unit 9, about discovering that Commander Victor Hale was being paid by the Volkov Syndicate to provide protection, to look the other way during smuggling operations, to eliminate anyone who threatened the arrangement. He told them about the warehouse, about the massacre, about being kept in a medically induced coma for 2 years while Hale tried to extract information. He told them about Shadow, about the brave dog who had escaped, who had carried the evidence, who had found Marcus and refused to give up. And then he released the files. Every document uploaded to a secure server, accessible to the public, to law enforcement, to anyone who wanted to see. The room erupted, questions flying, cameras capturing every moment. But Marcus was not watching the reporters. He was watching the doors, the windows, the balconies, waiting for the threat he knew was coming. It came during the Q&A session. A man in the back row stood, reached into his jacket, gun. Bennett's voice cut through the noise. She tackled David's wheelchair, knocked him to the ground. Marcus grabbed Emma, pulled her behind the podium. Shadow launched himself toward the gunman. Federal agents swarmed. Gunfire erupted. Chaos. But Shadow was faster than all of them. He hit the gunman mid-draw, knocked the weapon away, pinned him to the ground. More agents rushed in, secured the shooter, cleared the room. It was over in 30 seconds. Marcus held Emma tight, checked her for injuries, found none. The vest had done its job, even though no shots had come their way. David was on the floor, Bennett hovering over him, but he was laughing, actually laughing. Did we get it all? Did the upload finish? Agent Morrison checked her tablet. Every file, every document. It is out there. The whole world can see it now. David closed his eyes, relief washing over his face. Then we won. The arrest happened fast after that. The evidence was irrefutable, public, impossible to bury. Within 48 hours, the FBI had arrested 63 people across 2 states. Judges, lawyers, police officers, city officials, and 4 high-ranking members of the Volkov Syndicate. The network collapsed. Suppliers turned on buyers. Buyers turned on distributors. Everyone scrambling to make deals, to save themselves. Hale's trial was set for 6 months out, but his lawyers were already talking plea bargains. Life in prison instead of death penalty. He would never be free again. That was justice enough. David's recovery continued. Physical therapy every day, his strength returning, the gray fading from his hair, the sharpness returning to his eyes. Marcus found them a house, nothing fancy, 3 bedrooms on the outskirts of Billings, a yard for Shadow, a ramp for David's wheelchair, even though he was walking with a cane now. Mrs. Henderson visited twice a week, brought casseroles, played cards with Emma, told them about the old neighborhood, about how folks were proud of what they had done, proud of the truth. Emma went back to school, made friends, told everyone about her uncle who was a hero, about her dad who had saved them all, and Shadow. Shadow finally rested. He still had nightmares sometimes, would wake barking, searching for threats that were not there, but David was there to calm him, to remind him he was safe. 3 months after the press conference, the FBI held a ceremony to honor Unit 9, to recognize their sacrifice. They did it at the state capitol. Full honors, military precision. The families of the fallen handlers were there, some angry, some grateful, all grieving. David gave a speech, standing now, no wheelchair, just the cane. He talked about his team, about their courage, about how they had known the cost and paid it anyway, because some things were worth dying for. Justice, truth, the innocent. Then they called Shadow forward. The dog walked slowly, still limping, but proud, head high. The governor herself pinned the medal to his vest. Medal of Valor, highest civilian honor Montana could give. Shadow sat perfectly still, let the medal be placed, then looked back at David, at Marcus, at Emma, his family, his pack. The crowd stood, applause thundering. Not just for Shadow, for all of Unit 9, for the truth they had died protecting, for the justice that had finally come. Emma ran forward, wrapped her arms around Shadow. He is the best dog in the whole world, she announced to everyone, and no one disagreed. That night they had dinner together. Marcus, David, Emma, Shadow, Mrs. Henderson, Bennett, even Agent Morrison stopped by. They sat around the table in the new house, eating casserole, telling stories, laughing, the sound of family, of healing. Emma asked David to say grace. He took her hand, took Marcus's hand. Everyone joined hands around the table, Shadow sitting between David and Emma, part of the circle. Lord, thank you for bringing us through the fire. Thank you for the truth that sets us free. Thank you for family, for second chances, for Adbong who refused to give up. Bless this food, bless this home, and help us to honor those who did not make it here with us. Amen. Amen. The word echoed around the table. They ate. They talked. They healed. Later, after everyone had gone home, Marcus sat on the porch. David joined him, moving slowly but steadily. You did good, David said. With Shadow, with Emma, with everything. We did good. Marcus corrected. All of us, David nodded, looked up at the stars. You know what kept me going? In the dark, in the coma, when I could not move or speak or fight. What? I kept thinking about Shadow, about whether he made it, whether someone found him, whether the evidence would surface. And I prayed every day that God would send him to the right person. Marcus felt his throat tighten. He found me. No, David smiled. He found family. He found home. That is what I prayed for. They sat in silence. Brothers, survivors, witnesses to something bigger than themselves. Inside, Emma was teaching Shadow a new trick, her laughter floating through the open window, pure, joyful, innocent again. Shadow barked, playful, happy, the sound of a dog who had finally laid down his burden, who had completed his mission, who could just be a dog again. Marcus stood, held out his hand to David. Come on, let's go inside. David took it, let Marcus pull him up. They walked in together. The house was warm, full of light, full of life. Shadow looked up as they entered, tail wagging, Emma beside him, both of them grinning. This was the ending, not the one anyone expected, not the one earned through violence or revenge, but the one earned through truth, through courage, through a $10 dog who refused to let evil win. And it was enough. It was more than enough. It was home.